All right, so we're going to start trig ratios in right triangles. So you should have seen this in geometry. And then you should have seen it again in algebra 2, but I'm not sure how much you got to see with that COVID spring. And so let's move forward and see what you can remember and what you can't. All right. So we're going to start by using the Pythagorean theorem to be able to solve the triangle, or at least this to find the length of the third side. So the Pythagorean theorem says the length of a leg squared plus the length of a leg squared is equal to the length of the hypotenuse squared. So let's remember that the hypotenuse is the longest side and the legs are the sides that touch the right angle. So if we take a look at question number 1, we're saying that 5 squared plus 12 squared gives me the length of the hypotenuse squared. So the hypotenuse is the longest side and the legs touch the right angle. So I get 25 plus 144 is equal to c squared. So if c squared is equal to 169, then when I take the square root, now normally we do plus or minus. The only reason why we're not going to do plus or minus here is we're talking about the length of the side of a triangle, and the length is never going to be negative. So if you plug that into your calculator, that you get that it is 13 units long. All right, so see what you can do with number 2. Pause the video and see how far you can get. So looking at number 2, we said the length of a leg squared plus the length of a leg squared is equal to the length of the hypotenuse squared. So I've got a squared plus 100 is equal to 400. So if I subtract 100 from both sides, I get a squared is equal to 300. And then we need to take the square root of both sides. And again, I don't have to worry about plus or minus because we're looking for the length of the side of the triangle. So we have a is equal to, so notice that 300 has a perfect square in it, which is 100. So it's 100 times 3. And so that means that a is equal to 10 root 3. So notice it did say we wanted a simplified radical, not a rounded answer. So the length of that side is 10 root 3. Okay, so I have found that these are some of the Greek letters that we just need to know, and we're going to use them quite often. So this first one up here that looks like a fishy, that is going to be alpha. This one here, it's a circle with a line through the middle. We call that theta. And then a circle with a line going vertically through it, that's called phi. And then this fancy looking B is called beta. And then later on, if you do probability and statistics, then this is talking about the sum, and so we call that capital sigma. And then this lowercase one here is regular sigma, which is standard deviation. So we're going to recall from geometry. We've got that the side opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. And notice we have a theta angle measure right here in this corner. And so we said that we had SOHCAHTOA. So sine was opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine of theta was adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent of theta was opposite over adjacent. So when we say opposite, we're talking about the side where the vertex of theta is not an endpoint of the side. So if we're talking about theta in that triangle, the opposite side does not touch theta. You see that little color change? That was my magic. Then when we talk about adjacent, that connects the vertex of theta to the vertex of the right angle. So if we look at that triangle, the segment that's connecting theta to the right angle is going to be called the adjacent side. Now, if we move theta to that top angle, that would change who's opposite and who's adjacent. So like I was saying a minute ago, we had that saying SOHCAHTOA. So SOH means that sine of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. And then CAH means that cosine of theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. And TOA, T-O-A, means that tangent of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. All right, so if we have this triangle ABC, we would say that little a is the segment that is opposite large A. So large A should not have an endpoint on segment little a. So that means little b is going to be opposite big B and little c is opposite big C. So that will be true throughout this chapter. So to find the three trig ratios for angle A, we would say that the sine of A is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. Remember, so. The cosine of A is going to be adjacent, so the side connecting A to the right angle, over hypotenuse, so B over C. And then the tangent is going to be the opposite of A, meaning the segment that doesn't touch A, over the adjacent to A, which is the one that connects it to the right angle, and that's A over B. So take a moment and see if you can figure out the three trig ratios for angle B. What would change? All right, so the sine of B, now the opposite of B is the little b, and the hypotenuse remains C. For cosine, we have adjacent over hypotenuse. So now the adjacent is the segment. I just lost my mouse. Hold on. Let me find it. There we go. There's B. The adjacent connects B to the right angle. So that's going to be A over the hypotenuse of C. And then the tangent is going to be the opposite side over the adjacent side, which is B over A. So notice when we're talking about opposite and adjacent, we're always talking about sides that touch the right angle. Those are legs of the right triangle. So we're going to steal this triangle from the warm-up. So this is triangle ABC. And so notice if we focus on A, do you see that the opposite of A would be 5, the adjacent to A would be 12, and the hypotenuse would be 13. And so we have so, ka, and toa. So for sine, the opposite of A is 5, and the adjacent to A is 13. For cosine, the side connecting A to the right angle, that's my adjacent, that's 12, and my hypotenuse is 13. And then for tangent, that's toa, so opposite, which is 5, over adjacent, which connects it to the right angle, which is 12. So pause the video for a moment and see if you can figure out, if I move it over to B, what would be the sine, cosine, and tangent of B? So hopefully you see now that the 12 is the opposite and the 5 is the one that connects it to the right angle, which is the adjacent. So we still have so the sine is the opposite now, which is 12, over the hypotenuse, which is 13. The cosine of B is the adjacent, which is 5, over the hypotenuse, which is 13. And then the tangent is the opposite of B, which is 12, over the adjacent of B, which is 5. So what I want you to notice is the cosine of A has the same value as the sine of B. And I want you to notice that the sine of A has the same value as the cosine of B. So take a look at the tangents and see if you could figure out what relationship they have to each other. And so hopefully you can see that 5 over 12 is the reciprocal of 12 over 5. And so the tangent of A is the reciprocal of the tangent of B. Or you could say that the tangent of B is the reciprocal of the tangent of A. So if I know the tangent of A, I can flip the fraction and get the tangent of B, and same thing in the reverse. All right, so we're going to steal this triangle from our warm-up, and I want you to take a moment and see if you can find all 6 of these. So pause the video and see if you can find all 6 values. So focusing on angle A for the first one, my opposite's going to be 10 root 3, and my adjacent connects A to the right angle, and that's going to be 10. And my hypotenuse never touches the right angle, so that's going to be 20. So again, we would say SOHCAHTOA. A little off the edge, there we go. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so the opposite of A is 10 root 3, and the hypotenuse is 20. Now notice we want to reduce this. So I can reduce this by 10 and just call this root 3 over 2. Okay. The cosine of A is going to be the side that connects A to C, which has a length of 10, over the hypotenuse, which is 20. And again, we can cancel those zeros, meaning divide the top and the bottom by 10, and we get 1/2. And then the tangent of A is going to be the opposite, which is 10 root 3, over the adjacent, which is 10. And so these cancel and just give me the square root of 3. All right, so if you have any adjustments to make, pause the video and see if you can answer the right column. So then focusing on B, my opposite for B is going to be 10, and my hypotenuse is 20, and we can cut those 10s out and say that we have 1/2. Notice I could have already guessed that by saying it's the same as the cosine of A. Cosine of B is going to be the adjacent, meaning the segment that connects B to the right angle, so 10 root 3 over the hypotenuse, which is 20. And again, we want to cancel by 10, and so we're left with root 3 over 2. And we could have guessed that because we said that cosine and sine would have to have the same measure. And then the tangent of B, that's going to be opposite, which is 10, over the adjacent, which is 10 root 3. So we can say that 10 goes into 10 one time. And so I can call that 1 over root 3. And so you can see that they're reciprocals of each other. The only problem is we can never leave a radical in the denominator. So to make that a perfect square, I would multiply by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. So that gives me the square root of 3 over the square root of 9. And we know that the square root of 9 is just 3. So this is going to end up being root 3 over 3. So technically that is the reciprocal of this, as long as you recognize that the denominator can't stay a radical. So now that you're comfortable with the original 3, sine, cosine, and tangent, we're going to add in some new functions you may have never heard before. So these are called the reciprocal functions. So they're the reciprocals of the original 3. So if I take the reciprocal of sine, I get cosecant, assuming that my denominator is not equal to 0. If I take the reciprocal of cosine, I get secant. And if I take the reciprocal of tangent, I get cotangent. So hopefully you can see that tangent of theta not equal to 0, right? So what I want you to understand, tangent and cotangent, it makes sense to us that they go together because they both have the word tangent in it, okay? So what I want you to understand is each partnership only has one co in it. So since sine doesn't have the word co, it goes with cosecant. Whereas cosine has a co in it, so it goes with secant, the only one that doesn't have a co in it. Tangent doesn't have a co, so it goes with cotangent. So that's how they pair up every single time. So if I have my theta in that bottom left corner, my opposite wouldn't touch theta, my adjacent connects theta to the right angle, and the hypotenuse never touches the right angle. So if the sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse, then that means that the cosecant will be the reciprocal, which is hypotenuse over opposite. If the cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse, then that means that its reciprocal, secant of theta, is going to be hypotenuse over adjacent. It's the reciprocal. And if my tangent of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent, then that means that cotangent is going to be the reciprocal, which is adjacent over opposite. So I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do the next example, so I'm going to pause here and we will complete this thought on the next video.